Hello and welcome to episode 109 of the Rollo and Slappy Show. Today is September 10th, 2019. I am Rollo McFlugel, and with me is Slappy Jones 2, and we are both of McFlugel.com. The show notes page for this episode will be McFlugel.com/109, where you can find links to subscribe to us and all the podcast catchers, as well as follow us on Twitter and Facebook and all those other places, and to check out Liberty Mugs, where we sell libertarian-themed mugs. And if you sign up to our email list at McFlugel.com, we will send you a discount for your first LibertyMugs.com purchase. If the numbers for this episode seem off, that's because we released a bonus episode last week in the middle of the week. The first time we ever did it, but maybe we'll make that more of a regular thing. So if you're missing that, didn't hear that, go back, go check out episode 108. We had Car Campit on, talking about something that he was talking about on their most recent episode of the Friends Against Government podcast. We had a fun little conversation. So I'm going to hand it over to Slappy, and he's going to introduce our episode.
Thanks, Rollo. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the Rollo and Slappy Show. Hey, if you haven't done it already, go on to iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you get our podcast and rate us 5 stars. And if you have, do it again. Vote early and often and with 5 stars. We'd appreciate it. That stuff kind of helps us out. But on our only bonus episode, we talked about the moon landing, and we mentioned a guest that we were going to have on this episode, which is not here. He is not here. Next week? Is that
no, I think we're scheduled for the week after.
2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Okay.
Unless something changes.
Unless something changes. Then we can have Car Campit on.
Yes.
So anyway, today's episode, we're going to talk about Bisq, service to buy Bitcoin. Decentralized. Rollo knows a heck of a lot more about it than I do. He has used it, and on top, this isn't an advertisement for Bisq. I don't even know that it's a company. It's like a decentralized platform, as I understand. But more so the importance of getting away from custodial wallets. So, Rollo, do you want to kind of mention what Bisq is, but maybe first explain what a custodial wallet is?
Sure. When you hear the word custodial, and you'll probably hear it if you're in the Bitcoin space, is that it means that someone is holding your Bitcoin on your behalf, or maybe more specifically has access to your private keys. And so that's an issue because your ownership comes into question at that point. So
I mean, whoever has the private keys has the Bitcoin. Right.
And these businesses that are out there, these exchanges, I mean, this really usually just applies to exchanges where you're buying Bitcoin or maybe trading it for another altcoin. But I mean, these companies' reputations are on the line. So they're probably acting, or at least attempting to act, on the up and up. Or at least we can assume that.
Sure.
For the sake of discussion, is that because if they go and start, stealing Bitcoin from people, I mean, the idea is that you send them Bitcoin. You still want to have it in your control. You want to use it the way you want to do. You want to make your trades and everything. And when you want to release it back to your own wallet, where you have sole control of it, you want to be able to do that. So if these exchanges started, doing some monkey business and not letting you take your money out, or just stealing it, taking it for themselves, or in the case of some other issues like Mt. Gox just collapses. Now there was foul play there.
No.
So it can happen, but there's a lot of reasons that you could lose your money, and with Bitcoin, transactions only go one way. So if someone steals your funds, they're gone. There's no reversibility there. You can't appeal to anyone and say, hey, they took my money, they need to send it back. The only thing you could do was hope that you can get restitution somehow, that someone will be compelled to send you Bitcoin that was taken from you. But there's nobody to go and say, hey, this transaction needs to be reversed to get the Bitcoin to the right owner, because the right owner is the person who has the keys.
Now, could there be a possibility in these custodial wallets that it's almost like fractional reserves? In the sense that, like, say you and I opened one, you and me opened one, um, and we start collecting Bitcoin from people and keeping it in a wallet. And then when they want to withdraw, like we keep some of it, and when they want to withdraw it, we just send them whatever we have left, and eventually it blows up. Unless people just forever keep it in that wallet and don't know any better. And we make a calculation and assume that some people are just going to leave it, some people are going to forget their password, whatever, and we'll be okay with what we take. I mean, I don't want to accuse any of these places of that because I don't know. Would it be a possibility?
I guess it could be, but I don't think, as far as I know, I don't think any of them are doing it.
But I could think so either, yeah. And I don't know. And I know when you go to these places, you do have an address, a Bitcoin address, right? Where that money is sent. It's not sent to like a general box.
Right.
So, I mean, you don't have the private keys, but it is attached to that address. So you could go on the ledger and see if other wallets are getting, or that address is getting deposits or withdrawals that doing.
Yeah, that it's behaving how you would expect it to.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean that could be a possibility. I don't know that any one of them actually do that.
I don't think any do. I think we would have heard about it.
Right, and that would be kind of real. I mean, I don't think anyone would trust that.
Right, that would end it immediately.
Yeah.
So I don't even know why I brought it up. I'm just thinking, you know.
Oh no, it's a good question because it's something that there certainly would be a temptation to do. I mean, that is how the current banking system is in normie world. So it's certainly something that someone would come around and be like, hey, well, how about we do this? If we can expect that not everyone's going to want their money back at the same time. So, hey, we could maybe do a little better here. It's fortunately with the nature of Bitcoin, I don't think many people at all, at least right now, with where it's at, would have any sort of appetite for doing that because the culture is the way the culture is with kind of sound money and having a blockchain to know exactly where everything is.
Certainly. Agreed.
So yeah, and these exchanges are also have some centralization to them. Just because it's a company, and so they manage their business, and that's kind of the model. Good, bad, or indifferent, that's just the way it is. With Bisq, however, it's both decentralized and non-custodial. And so what it is, it's just kind of it's a way for people to put up offers to buy and sell Bitcoin. Similar to the idea of the website that's been around for a while, localbitcoins.com, where that was a way, really the first main way to buy Bitcoin before these exchanges started popping up. You go to the local Bitcoins, type in where you live, and people post offers to buy and sell Bitcoin. And you find someone, and you go meet them, or you figure out however you want to exchange the funds for the Bitcoin, and you make the trade. Mm-hmm. Very similar to Craigslist. So it's the same kind of idea with Bisq, is that it's just basically a place to post offers to buy and sell Bitcoin. But instead of meeting face to face or do it another way, they offer their service they offer is that they act as kind of the arbitrator in case something goes wrong. So you go there. I'm looking at the screen right now, and it's still kind of new, not too much traction on there, but there's offers. There's 4 offers to sell Bitcoin, so you could take the offer, and people can set how they want to have their payment methods to them. You can use you can do face-to-face. There's cash deposit. There's money orders. You can use Zelle. Any number of ways. And so you do that. Once you take the offer, I believe it notifies the other person that, hey, someone took your offer, and then you've got some time to actually send them the money in whatever way they mention it, or whatever way they request it. And when you do this, you have to have some. Let me take a step back. You also have to have some Bitcoin in reserve, so that what happens, it kind of helps put some skin in the game, so you're not trying to scam people. And so when you do it, it locks both the Bitcoin you're trying to buy and your reserved Bitcoin in a multi-signature transaction. So that way, I don't know what it is, if you need the arbitrator. I don't know if it's, actually, I don't know at this point exactly. I don't know if it's a 2 of 2 or a 2 of 3.
Now, quickly, do you want to explain multi-sigs?
Yeah, so a normal Bitcoin transaction is just each party, this person sending the transaction signs, with their private key through the software, of course, signs the transaction, and it says yes. That's the way to say, yes, I'm authorizing this money to be sent, for this transaction to go through. When you have a multi-signature transaction, it requires several parties to sign with their private keys. So it adds a layer of security to making sure that
both parties want to do it, or multiple parties.
Right. It would be good for businesses, that if you've got, in order to make certain payments to people, or certain levels of payments. I know where I work. I have a certain, what's it called? I'm blanking on this term of how much money.
It's an oil refinery.
Yeah. But whatever. Let's pick a number for, random. Let's say it's a tractor company, and the one person is authorized to spend $10,000. Anything more than that, he needs someone else his manager,
sign off on
that thing. So for any transaction that would be greater than $10,000, it would be a multi-signature transaction. So you have the guy who's making the transaction, then his manager also has to sign off on that, to authorize the transaction to go through. It won't
go through without both signatures.
Yes. So something like a 2 of 3, or just more generally an X of Y, and we'll just use 2 of 3 as an example, that there's 3 different parties that could sign the transaction, but only 2 needed to go through. So I thought about doing this, making sure I knew what kind of signature, how many parties need to sign. I assume it's 2 of 3. Because if there is an issue, that's when the arbitrator would go in and sign it and send the funds one way or the other to determine it. But fortunately, we did not need any arbitration. Once I sent him the money, it sent him a notification to go check that the money got sent to his where it was supposed to go. Once he did that, he went into Bisq and clicked yes, he got it, and that's what released
the transaction.
Yep, yeah. Completed the transaction, sent the money to me. So if there were any sort of disputes in this transaction, then they assign an arbitrator, who is someone who's heavily involved in the Bisq project, to go in and look at all the evidence and make a decision either way. And they're funded by a small portion of these trades. A cut goes to the arbitrator. So all things considered, it was between the transactions to get the Bitcoin transaction through and the arbitration fees, it was not very expensive to do that. I guess taking another step back to beginning is that in order to use Bisq, it runs on the Tor. So you go to bisq.network, which is their website, and you can download the software, and you just, install the executable. And when you run it, you click it, open it, it loads everything up. and you're routed through the Tor network to help obfuscate where you are and who you are and everything, so that it creates some security there. So what this does, or do you have any questions before we move on about why this is valuable?
Did you mention how it is decentralized?
Yeah, it was just kind of the way that local Bitcoins is decentralized. There's no, it's you're not making the transaction through.
There isn't someone holding it in the central location and you're buying it from them.
Right. The way that there's a check to make sure that the trade's going through well is that the way they construct the transaction.
Yeah.
Not the way they structure the system. Whereas in a centralized exchange, you go in and you want to, someone's offering to sell their Bitcoin for, whatever, and you want to take that, then it goes through the exchange's hands.
Right.
Or it's already in their hands because you're loading it on their servers and they've got access to the keys. So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so this is kind of an important thing because we were mentioning before, you can assume that the centralized exchange has good intentions and that they're not going to try to steal your money and they're not going to do anything else like that. But there's a kind of a big security flaw there. And one of the issues is that a lot of these companies now, they're trying to stay open. They're making a lot of money now. It's not just like this thing that's kind of silly libertarians are playing around with. It's pretty.
Now the serious libertarians are.
Yeah. It's a pretty big business. So governments are now very interested in putting all.
What happened last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago? I can't remember, but the IRS came down with some decision, or the courts did something with Coinbase to make them report.
Well, they tried. They wanted Coinbase to send a list of all the people that have made transactions worth
greater
above,
than whatever number.
Yeah, above some threshold. It was fairly large, but Coinbase was fighting it,
especially because a lot of people bought when it was really inexpensive and probably were over that threshold.
Right. So the problem with these exchanges is that they have a data. I mean, you sign up. Well, in the beginning, maybe you could sign up with not much information, but now you got to any of these exchanges, and man, you got to verify who you are. You got
a driver's license. And
bank. I mean, if you're routing with your bank account.
Yep.
So much information out there that is stored on their servers, which we can kind of trust that, or even if you assume that they're trustworthy and they're not going to do anything bad with it, that's not the issue. It's the same issue that we talked about before with keeping Bitcoin decentralized and secure, is that it's not these miners or whoever that you necessarily have to worry about. It's governments and other bad actors that are the concern. So if you think about this, like a Coinbase thing, which is where a lot of people have bought Bitcoin, myself included, because when I was buying Bitcoin, I wasn't thinking about these issues until much later. There's this database that has names, addresses, I guess phone numbers, email addresses, banking information, maybe copies of driver's licenses. And it also says how much Bitcoin you've bought with that. That is something that a hacker would absolutely love to get his hands on to sell in the black market. Because, if you see a guy has bought a whole lot of Bitcoin and you can figure out, look who it is, and see it's just like some, like you said, people bought this stuff when it wasn't worth anything a lot of times. Or not worth anything, but when it was still pretty cheap. And so, they might have spent a good amount of money back when they originally bought it, but now it might be worth a small fortune.
Or a large fortune.
And you can, you look it up and see if it's just, there's so much information there. And, with Facebook and LinkedIn and everything else, the internet, it's very easy to find people and to kind of validate who they are. So if someone wants to go and rob people, that list is worth a huge amount of money to people who aren't savory individuals, we'll say. The other issue is that if the government just decides that we are going to take this information, and we're going to do it whether this company wants to do it or not, that's also not good. Now the government knows what Bitcoin you have, and you could say, well, I traded it around, moved between wallets. Maybe I used a coin like Monero to, make the trail messed up or whatever, that you anonymize the transactions. But if the government knows how much Bitcoin you bought and then you try to sell it back, they're going to say, well, this is what we calculate your gains to be, and this is what you owe in taxes. One workaround on that.
The quote from Goodfellas.
What's that?
F you, pay me.
Yeah.
I don't care.
We can say all we want that they might not be able to trace all the Bitcoin where everything went between buying it and selling it or whatever. Even if you're not selling it, if they decide they want to tax Bitcoin purchases, they're just going to, they're not going to care. One workaround to at least not having to pay taxes for trading your Bitcoin back into fiat is to actually never do that. Just hodl it in the hopes that it becomes money, and that will be what you use to eventually do your normal purchases and transacting in. Or if you want a way to if you really, I'm not going to fault anyone if they need to make their Bitcoin into USD for whatever reason. If you absolutely need to do it and you want to do it, Bisq offers you a pretty good alternative, because the government's not going to find out who you made this trade with. So instead of having a big database with a bunch of with all, very valuable database for the government to go peek into, it's just one guy kind of has your email address or whatever. So it really, it's not perfect. I guess you could conceivably make a trade with an FBI agent or something, but it's probably, they're probably not there, because there's not, I'm looking right now, the highest amount of Bitcoin someone's selling is 1/8 of the Bitcoin. So we're really not talking about
giant sized
right.
transactions. Yeah.
Yep. Which, hopefully we'll start getting more. But it really it really helps your security there, that you're not doing it through someone who's got this huge collection, which your information by itself might not be worth very much to a government or another nefarious actor, but the aggregate of it makes it of everyone makes it very, very valuable. So there's actually I'll put a link in the show notes page, but we mentioned his podcast a lot when we talk about Bitcoin. But J.W. Weatherman had the Bisq guys on his show talking about this stuff, and so if you're interested and want to get a little more details, especially from the guys,
you said Bisq.network.
Yep. Yeah, we'll post a link to that episode in the show notes page. I recommend it. There's and
Bisq is spelled BISQ, correct?
Yes, yeah. Grum's back up on the desk, being annoying. That's why I was stumbling a little bit or slow with some of my words. Trying to make him not chew on the wires, which he's doing now. Come on. So, did you have anything else? Because we could talk about, there's another service that I heard about.
Sure. What else you got?
There's on the Stefan Levara podcast recently, you had I think he's the founder, or one of the guys working on a service called Azteco, which is
that similar to Bisq?
Kind of, but not really. It's another decentralized, non-custodial service where they set up these kind of kiosks, and I guess it's similar to a Bitcoin ATM, which I never actually saw one. I don't think, never used it, so I can't really comment on how they exactly work. But the way Azteco would work is that they have these kiosks that they set up, and you don't actually buy Bitcoin directly from these kiosks. What you do is you buy a voucher that's got a code on it that you later go onto their website, punch in the code on the voucher, and that will release the Bitcoin to you. So what's nice about this is that these kiosks, you can punch in a credit card or a debit card or just cash. So it's a great way to anonymously buy Bitcoin.
Right.
You're not. I mean, if you use your credit card or your debit card, they say and I would have no reason to not believe them. But they don't keep a database of anyone's information. I don't know that they would have access to the credit card anyway. I assume they would. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know how it works either.
But the better thing to do would just to be use cash. So the only thing you would have to worry, I don't know. I have no idea.
Do you know where these are?
They don't have any out yet.
Oh,
but if you go on their website, I think
are they like funding for it?
Yeah. I think they're working on their first couple.
Okay.
So I don't know where these are going to be, but if there's any near you, I mean, it's not a bad deal. I would absolutely use it, and I mean, it's one of those things where probably not a good idea to just go and take $20,000 of 20s with you, put it in this machine, and get it just because.
And tell everyone you're doing it.
Right. But if you take that out of your bank account all at once, you're going to get questioned on it.
I actually think any transaction over, like any withdrawal over 10 grand gets like reported.
Yeah, I had to, when I got my air conditioner and heater replaced recently, I paid it in cash, and I had to withdraw a good amount of what I needed. And of course,
that's the IRS's business to know why you want your money.
Well, the IRS didn't ask me, but when I had to ask for an increase from my credit union of what I can pull out of the ATM at one time, and they had to ask what it was for.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I can't name it specifically, but there's probably some like RICO law.
Oh yeah, I don't think there's any reason that they would have, were asking for their own benefit or whatever.
Right.
It was awkward too.
Document why you're doing it.
Yeah, it was awkward because it's try not to tell the world everything I do.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm paying for a service. Really made it sound weird. And you have any sort of imagination, you come up with all sorts of things to pay for like that. But I was just having my air conditioner replaced. Not that exciting compared to what other people make large cash transactions for. But at the same time, I don't think, people, the person from the credit union I was talking to, she wasn't stupid. She knows that people are trying to not pay taxes. So,
are they?
I would assume. That people try to, minimize their tax liabilities. Which is another reason you should get into Bitcoin, because just no one's that's not going to be taxed. So, I don't know. I'm trying to think
of anything else to add for your
more
points on Bitcoin you want to get out as we continue our Bitcoin series?
I don't know. Did you have anything?
No.
Okay.
I'm learning from you.
Okay. Ooh, dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, I'm learning as I go, so this is it's interesting that I feel like we do some of these Bitcoin episodes, and I feel like they're like chunky, but that's okay because
Yeah, give us feedback,
yeah, I'm
especially if you disagree or want to challenge something.
Mhm.
We would like to hear it.
Yeah, well, I know take Grum's lead on that because he's clearly does not like us talking about Bitcoin because ever since we started doing that, he's been really annoying.
Well, you brought up Tractor Coin. You want to go that direction?
Yeah, well, I mentioned this on Twitter. There was a contentious hard fork, and now Tractor Coin Cash is the real Tractor Coin.
Oh,
yeah. So if you want your fields plowed fast, cheap, and reliably, use Tractor Coin Cash. Yep.
Gotcha. Cool. Note taken.
Good. So do you have a free market success story?
Would you have one planned?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I got my gutters this week, so I'm pretty pumped.
Oh, nice. That finally happened?
Yeah, because we had a ton of rain too today, and I just watched it go down the little downspout. It was beautiful.
And not into your laundry room?
Yes.
Most houses have walls built on them, so
not mine.
Yeah. You were wondering how you got the house on the cheap so much.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I was kind of sitting at work the other day, minding my own business, and I got a text from my cell phone carrier. And usually, when that happens, they're saying, "Hey, you've reached you're coming close to your data limit." And so I have an unlimited data plan, but that means after 2.5 gigabytes. And that
slows down.
Yeah, they really throttle you to, I guess, they knock you back to 3G. Which is funny because 3G not that long ago was like...
Yeah, you're working with a horse and buggy.
Yeah, but that was like a rocket car back then. Now it's a horse, and now it's almost useless. But this was a little different. They said, hey, we want to let you know that we are giving you a complimentary increase to your threshold up to 10 gigabytes per month.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Why would they do that? That doesn't make sense. Don't they just want to get more money out? Shouldn't they have lowered the threshold?
I think that they did, and I think that they're somehow charging me more money now.
Nice.
So, no, what it is that, we talk about capitalism and everything and how the free market it increases wealth, and now it's becoming easier to produce the cell phone services, and so it's getting cheaper to do it, and they can charge less for the product, and they would charge less because they know it's a competitive enough market that someone else can kind of undercut what they offer or what their price is. So in order to keep business, especially because the service I use does not have a contract. So I'm month to month, I can cancel and go someplace else whenever I want at no additional cost. So they really have to keep their customers happy, and this is one of the ways they do it.
And just try to figure out how much you can do for $1 instead of how little you can do for that $1 and still get $1 out of you.
Yeah, and they're still, I mean, they could, like I said, it's becoming, the market's maturing, the industry is maturing. They're talking about 5G. So
it's a very mature topic.
Yes. Let's just wait till we get to 6G. It's going to be, super mature. No jokes allowed there.
Yeah. Once we get to H's, forget about it.
Oh, I know. But yeah, it's just that things become cheaper, and that's a sign of a healthy economy, is that you can get more for the same amount of labor or money, which is why when we see inflation happening with the U.S. dollar, that's a sign that something's not very good going on. But this was nice to see that despite all of the regulations in the world and within this industry, because you see, I mean, if you ever look at your cell phone bill, a lot of it is in taxes and fees. Not really. So the fact that despite all of that, despite all the controls on the market and everything that are imposed there, there's still a lot of progress being made. But it just goes to show, just imagine how much progress we'd have without all the fetters of the state. So it was nice. Was not expecting that, but it's helpful because I actually do hit that limit.
Every month?
Not every month. It's, you know what it is? It's that if I don't remember to download podcast episodes that show up when I'm on Wi-Fi,
you stream them.
And if I stream them, that just chews it up. Otherwise, I mean,
That's funny. I got unlimited data on my plan, and so now I no longer download them. I just stream them all the time.
Yeah. The tragedy of the commons, Slappy. You're the one that's clogging up the...
Yeah, it's my fault.
Yep. But that's another thing. I mean, there's so much Wi-Fi going on, you know, so much Wi-Fi available everywhere that, you know, who knows how long we're going to, those networks, what they're going to be like. And Wi-Fi is becoming more and more just like I assume that at some point the internet's going to be, quote unquote, free to use. Obviously, someone needs to pay for it, but it will be packaged in. Yeah, it'll be packaged into something else. That'll be
like
part
the
of
elevator
service.
in the hotels,
right?
the pools, the gyms.
So that so that you won't even notice it as a cost too. It'll it can just be kind of an add-on they can throw in, which is good. I mean, that's like a lot of things. If just so.
Great point. Good like a lot of things.
Yes. Good like a lot of... I mean, that should probably be on a T-shirt or something. It's good like a lot of things.
Maybe put it on a mug.
If we had the ability to put things on mugs, maybe we would do that.
We would do that. Yeah. Good like a lot of things. I think that we're going to make that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you got anything else to add?
Nah, show notes for this is mcfugel.com/109. Or on a bunch of podcast catchers like Stitcher and iTunes, Podbean, also YouTube. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Check out the links on the show notes page too. We'll put up the episode of J.W. Weatherman talk to the Bisq guys, as well as Stefan Lavera's podcast talking to the Azteco guy. Check out Liberty Mugs. Check out our Friends podcast. We got Manstrader, Free Man Beyond the Wall, Friends Against Government with Bird Archist and Car Campit. Got the Dino Files and Peaceful Treason podcast.
Yes, indeed.
Am I forgetting anything?
No, just go and rate us 5 stars.
Yep. That would be nice of you. And share it too.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Peace.